Hello and welcome. You tune into Market Fatafat with me, Ankita Saxena, and with me is Snehi Shah. And this is the show where we get you all the buzzes in trade, why they are buzzing, on the back of news flow or on the back of technical charts. But first up, let's take shape up how the markets are shaping up. Nifty is posing a smart recovery. In fact, we are up almost 1.8% from the day's lows. It's a good day of recovery coming in. After the drawdown that we saw in coming out post the tariff news, it's a good day when the entire market is recovering. In fact, the broader market is outperforming the benchmark indices, and a good day coming in for the Nifty as well.
Absolutely, off the day's lowest point, very good recovery that we've seen in the last couple of trading hours. Remember, at one point of the day, Nifty was barely higher by less than 1%, and now we have recovered all of that momentum that we had fizzled out on. A 2.3% uptick coming in on Nifty, and at the day's highest point is where we are. Sensex also looking very good right now, and in tandem with the Nifty, Sensex is also growing up, and 2.3% uptick coming in on Sensex as well. Nifty Bank is also almost at the day's highest point, or 1.7% uptick coming in on Nifty Bank, so looking good. Broader markets also looking rather good. We've seen some correction coming on the small cap index, but nonetheless it's holding on to some very solid gains. A 2.3% gain coming in for the Nifty mid cap, and small cap also 2.4% higher. So in fact, it's all these indices that are in tandem with each other, be it with the broader markets and the benchmarks. India Wix is lower by 8% today, but we've still not completely come down from the kind of spike that we had seen yesterday. Still around the 21 mark on India Wix, so that's slightly worrisome, but let's hope for some more fall on this front as well. If you take a look at sectorally what's happening, all the sectors are in the green right now, no surprise on that. You have Nifty IT, that's the biggest gainer today, a 3% uptick coming in, followed by PSU banks, realty, FMCG, pharma, auto, metal, energy, and Nifty Bank. These are that's the order of the most to least gainers today, because all of these sectors are in the green. Couple names like Hutco in focus on the back of signing an MOU with the government, a 1.5 lakh crore MOU coming in. Big MOU win coming in for Hutco on the back of that. That stock is also doing pretty well in today's trade. And a couple of more stocks, the likes of Titan and the others that will be in focus today, that we'll be delving deep on this edition of Market Fatafat. So let's kickstart the show then.
All right, let's kickstart the show then. Osho Krishan, who's a senior analyst, technical and derivative research Angel One, is joining us on the technicals. And from our research team, we are joined by Ravinder. Hi, good afternoon to both of you. Thank you so much for joining in. Let's get started with all the stocks that are in focus today. And first up is Macrotech Developers, or Lodha, as the brand name is. This one is in focus today. In fact, the entire realty pack, as Snehi mentioned, is in focus today. It's doing pretty well. In fact, a couple of quarterly updates that is really powering that entire pack. One of them is Macrotech Developers, up and away 3%. Now, they have reported a 14% increase in sales bookings to a record 4,810 crores in the fourth quarter of last fiscal, mainly due to strong housing demand. And that's helping the company to achieve its annual pre-sales target. Now, if you look at the pre-sales projections, also the pre-sales projections for 2024-25 helped by a slew of new projects during the year. And what it said was the best ever quarter. That's the word coming in from the management as well. So it did pretty well. It outnumbered its pre-sales numbers as well. A couple of brokerage notes also that came out on Macrotech Developers giving a bullish call. First one is Antique, that's maintaining a buy with a target price of 1,453 rupees. They feel that Lodha has delivered an impressive growth with a 31% CAGR in pre-sales from FY21 to FY25. Also during the quarter, Lodha recorded its best ever quarterly pre-sales, which is 4,810 crore rupees, like I mentioned. Also, they expect Lodha to maintain a sustainable and predictable growth of between 15 to 20% going forward, and they expect Lodha to do a sales booking of 175 billion rupees in FY25 estimate. So looking good on there as well. And there's a brokerage call by Morgan Stanley also, where they are maintaining a buy with a target price of 1,230 rupees. On the back of that, Macrotech is in focus.
Okay, in focus on the back of brokerage notes coming in on the update. But let's talk about Bajaj Finserv. Osho, hi, welcome to the show. That's the stock that you've picked out for us. And Bajaj Finserv, last 1 month, last 6 months has been very steady at 2 to 3%. For YTD, the stock is up 20% already. So what's the take on the stock? And do you believe that this global uncertainty that we're seeing, do you believe that Bajaj Finserv can weather this storm? Because last 1 month and 6 months, still the stock is in the green. So what's the outlook going ahead?
Very good afternoon to both of you, and firstly, thank you for inviting me at the show. Well, yes, looking at the technical perspective of Bajaj Finserv, then this counter has been into a very strong positive traction, and it has started gaining a positive traction from the zone of nearly 1600, and even in such market conditions where the volatility is approximately at a very higher or at a very strong peak, at these levels also Bajaj Finserv have seen some kind of a decent plunge in the past one or two trading sessions. So overall, looking at the historical trend on the technical front, this counter always takes supports from the 50 and followed by 89-day exponential moving average. So yesterday it has tested the 50-day exponential moving average, and today again there has been a very strong recovery in the counter. So I'm expecting that in the short-term period, the counter has the ability to retest the zone of 2000 and plus kind of a target, while on the lower end 1850 is a very strong support for the counter. So for short-term traders, one can definitely try to look for a buying bet in this counter, and even from a positional point of view, the time it surpasses the zone of 2000 on the closing basis, we can see a decisive upsurge in the coming period. So on both the time frame, short-term and medium-term, the technical perspective for Bajaj Finserv is looking very positive.
Okay, so bullish outlook coming in on Bajaj Finserv from Osho. Let's move on and talk about two pharma stocks that are in focus today on the back of a brokerage note. That's Suven Pharma as well as Piramal Pharma on the back of a Goldman Sachs brokerage note, wherein first on Suven Pharma, Goldman Sachs has initiated a buy call with a target price of 1,350 rupees per share. They're seeing that a strong rebound is expected from FY26, and the strong rebound will be driven by top drugs and potential new drug approvals. There's also been successful integration of Cohance, Sapala and NJ Bio, and that is expected to contribute more than 20% EBITDA CAGR to the overall EBITDA. So that's looking good for Suven Pharma, and Goldman Sachs is positive on that stock. That stock trading with an uptick of 2.6%. The other stock that Goldman Sachs has come out on, with a note on is Piramal Pharma, where they've initiated a buy call, target price at 275 rupees per share. They believe that the stock is positioned for top quartile profit growth, and profit before tax margin is also expected to rise from approximately 3% in FY24 to over 16% by FY28. So very bullish outlook coming in on Piramal Pharma as well. They believe that for this company, growth drivers will be their CDMO business and their CHG capacity expansion and turnaround of the ICH business. So positive notes and buy initiations coming on both Suven Pharma and Piramal Pharma, on the back of which both of these stocks are holding up pretty well in today's trade.
Absolutely positive notes by Goldman Sachs in both Suven and Piramal Pharma. But moving on to another higher flyer in trade, the one that's the shining spot in today's trading session, that's Titan. A strong quarterly update followed by bullish brokerage notes. Ravinder, take us through the details of that.
Well, as Titan has announced its Q4 FY25 business update, and the company reported a 25% standalone growth year-on-year basis in Q4 FY25. And if we talk about full FY25, company reported a 21% year-on-year growth, and the company added a 55 new stores during this quarter, bringing the total stores to at 2989. And if we break down this the segment-wise performance, then the jewelry remained the standout segment, delivering a 25% year-on-year growth, primarily led by plain jewelry, which grew by 27% year-on-year basis, and coins, which saw a stellar 65% year-on-year growth. And the watch segment clocked an impressive 22% year-on-year growth, which was driven by analog watches, and which saw a 18% year-on-year rise. If we talk about iCare division, then the company posted a 19% year-on-year growth, and the brand also expanded internationally, adding 2 stores in Dubai, although it closed 11 stores within India during the quarters. And the emerging business segment grew a 7% year-on-year basis, and the Carrot line delivered a solid 22% year-on-year basis. There are also some brokerage notes coming in where Macquarie has maintained their outperform rating with target price of rupees 4,000. Morgan Stanley retains their overweight rating with target price of rupees 3,876. So back of this strong Q4 business update, stock is up over 4%.
That's Titan up and away 4% in trade. But moving on, coming to you, Osho, you've picked out Berger Paints for us. Now, this counter has actually outperformed the market, outperformed the Nifty in the last 1 month. In fact, today also the trend is it's almost up 4.5%. From here on, do you see the positive momentum to continue?
See, overall, there has been a very strong consolidation on the technical front for Berger Paint in the past 4 to 5 weeks. There has been a very strong consolidation around the zone of 490 to 500 kind of a zone. And in today's trading session, there has been a very strong breakout in this counter. Firstly, there has been positive crossover, and secondly, the counter has surged above the 200-day simple moving average. So all the technical perspective construes a very positive development in this counter, and I'm expecting that with the kind of a momentum that we are witnessing in the paint counter, so there is a possibility of higher returns and momentum continuing in these counters in the short-term perspective. So for Berger Paint, I am expecting a target of nearly 555 to 60 in a very short-term perspective, while on the lower end, 510 to 515 now should act as a very strong support zone for the counter. So one should have an approach of buy on dips in this counter for a higher target of nearly 560 in a very short-term duration kind of a time perspective.
Alright, moving on then, that's Berger's on the chart, Berger Paints on the chart. Let's move on to the next counter, which is Cyient. Now this one is also in focus today on the back of a big block deal that happened. Now the shares jumped almost 5%. It's cooled off from there. It's nonetheless trading with gains of almost 4% in trade right now, and that is because because of the big block deal that has come on the counter, and the buying of the counter came after the HDFC mutual funds bought almost 6,23,896 shares through a big block deal, and also HDFC mutual funds has bought that for 1,099 rupees per share, and on the back of the stock has jumped right after the block deal went through. Also, on the other hand, the NWBP has, as a depository participant for the first State India Subcontinent Fund, A Sub Fund BFS has sold 6,79,655 shares, and they have sold this for an average price of 1,099 rupees for the company. On the back of this big block deal that has happened, Cyient is in focus today. In fact, it jumped sharply right after the block deal came through. It's cooled off from there, but nonetheless trading with gains of 4%.
For Cyient on the back of that block deal, of 4% uptick coming in, HDFC MF increasing their stake. But let's move on, and Osho, coming to you, you've picked out Godrej Consumer Products for us. Yesterday we had the Q4 update come in that fundamentally was very strong, so that's looking good for the stock right now. But on the charts, last 1 month the stock is higher by 15%. On the flip side, last 6 months it was lower by roughly 9%. Amid this kind of volatility, where are you seeing this stock price go, and would this be your preferred pick from the entire consumption space?
Overall, the whole FMCG space has started gaining very strong traction in the last couple of trading sessions, but Godrej Consumer specifically, if I have to say, then in the last 2 months, we have seen a kind of a V-shaped recovery in this counter, because the counter has seen a kind of a correction from near the zone of nearly 1190, 1200 in the month of February, and again after testing the zone of 1000, the counter has again tested 1200 on the higher end. So overall, there has been a very positive traction with the kind of a movement that we have seen of 200 points in the near-term period. So overall, looking at the technical perspective, there is a higher possibility for this counter to test the zone of 1250, because overall we are witnessing a swing breakout in this counter. So on the higher perspective, 1250 is the immediate target that one can expect in the short-term perspective. And overall, there is a kind of a reversal in the momentum for Godrej Consumer. So I'm expecting that for short term, 1250 is the target. But the time it conquered 1250, then from there onwards, we can see a counter trend or trend reversal in this counter for even higher targets of 1350 to 1380 from short to medium term perspective. So overall, it is at a very lucrative zone with a proper risk management. So one can definitely try to gauge momentum in Godrej CP for approximately 1250 followed by 1350 as a target.
All right, moving on then. Coming to you, Rabinder, Godrej Properties is what you picked out for us. Another candidate for quarterly updates from the Realty Pack, which is doing pretty well for itself. Tell us, what do the updates look like?
Well, yes, Godrej Property has announced its Q4 FY25 business update, and the company has delivered its highest ever quarterly and full year bookings. In Q4 FY25, booking value grew by 87% quarter-on-quarter basis and 7% year-on-year basis to 10,163 crore, and this is the highest ever quarterly booking value achieved by the Godrej Property. FY25 booking value grew by 31% year-on-year basis to 29,444 crore, and company has achieved 109% of its annual guidance for booking value of FY25. In FY25, FY25 was the 8th consecutive financial year of booking value for growth for Godrej Properties, and sales in Q4 FY25 were driven by strong demand in several key new projects launching, including Godrej Riverine in Noida, Godrej Astra in Gurugram, and Godrej Madison Avenue in Hyderabad. And NCR region, MMR and Bangalore contributed more than 10,500 500 crores into the booking value in FY25. So back of this news, stock is up over 2%.
Okay, so that's the reason why Godrej Properties is in focus today. Good set of quarter four updates coming in from this one as well. Let's just focus and talk about BEL. This one is in focus on the back of an order win coming in, and the Navratna defense major Bharat Electronics saw its share surge over 5% in early trading hours after it bagged a major contract from the Indian Air Force. This is in order to supply an advanced electronic warfare suite for the Mi-75 V5 helicopters for the IAF, and this order is worth 2,210 crore rupees. These systems are expected to enhance the helicopter's combat survivability by defending against enemy threats in the sky, and with this, BEL has now accumulated orders totaling to 2,803 crore rupees in the current financial year. So that's the update on BEL's latest order win and what their order book stands at and what it looks like right now. But on the back of this order win coming in, the stock is up almost 3% as we speak.
Alright, moving on then from BEL, coming to you, HDFC Life, that's the counter that you've picked out. Last 1 month moves, it has moved up 9% in the last 1 month. From here on, do you see this to continue, this positive momentum that it has picked up in the last 1 month to continue?
See, there has been a very strong consolidation breakout in the month of March. By the month end, there has been a very strong traction in this counter, and there has been several positive developments in terms of technical perspective. There has been positive crossover of the 21-day fall, crossing over the 200-day simple moving average. So overall, the technical perspective looks very positive, and even in last trading session, the counter has retested the neckline of the breakout, and again from there onwards, we are witnessing some kind of buying traction coming back in HDFC Life. So I'm expecting that in a short-term perspective, 700 should be seen as the first intermediate hurdle for the counter, but the time it breaches the zone of 700, then from here onwards there can be a very strong breakout for the higher target of nearly 760 in the medium term perspective. So one can definitely keep this counter in their radar. Any breakthrough above 700 can give a very strong momentum in this counter, and on the higher end, the first target is 760, followed by we need to review the counter once it reaches those zones.
Okay, so those are the next levels to watch out for on HDFC Life. Rabinder, let's come to you. Soba is a stock that you've picked out once again from the Realty Pack in focus on the back of its quarter for updates. Tell us what the update looks like.
Well, yes, in Q4 FY25, Soba reported a sales value of 18.36 billion rupees, selling to a 1.56 million square feet at an average price of 11,781 per square feet, reflecting a strong growth of 32.2% quarter on quarter over Q3 FY25 and 22.1% over Q4 FY24. And Bangalore continue to be key drivers, contributing to 14.6 billion rupees in sales across 1.24 million square feet, accounting for 76.6% of total sales. This performance was bolstered by two new launches in the city, and other regions also deliver a healthy revenue. Gurgaon saw a 25.2% increase in sales value over the previous quarter, while Kerala maintained the stable performance, recording at 1.28 billion rupees in sales. And during the quarter, company launched two new projects with total saleable area of 4.11 million square feet. Notably, Shobha achieved the highest number of new launches in quarter with 8 projects spanning 8.76 million square feet across 4 cities. So back of this news, stock is in focus in today's trading session.
Alright, that is Soba Developers, another counter from the real estate pack that's in focus today. But Osho, coming to you, you picked up HUL for us. A lot of techies are flagging off HUL, as a counter from the FMCG pack. In fact, do you see a breakout coming in HUL as well?
No, there has not been a very strong breakout, but the counter is hovering at a very strong support. If we have to pull up a chart on a longer term perspective, in the month of April last year, the counter again has taken support near the zone of 2200. And if we have to see in the last 2 to 3 trading weeks, the counter was still hovering around the zone of 2200. So that means this zone is a very strong historical support for the counter. While in the recent period, for example, in today, there has been some kind of positive traction in the overall FMCG space. But looking at the overall or a broader perspective, the counter is at a very strong support zone, and there is a high possibility of trend reversal or sectoral rotation which can focus on the FMCG counters. So looking at the support zone, one can definitely try to accumulate HUL with a very strong risk reward ratio, and on the higher end I am expecting that in the short to medium term perspective near about 2500 would be the immediate target for the counter, and if it breaches the zone of 2500 then again we can see continuation on the higher end. But at present it is at a very strong and favorable risk reward from a risk reward point of view, so one can definitely try to add up on this counter from a short to medium term perspective.
Okay, so that's the take coming in on HUL, and add is the call coming in from Osho. Let's move on and talk about yet another stock from the real estate pack, but this one is not in focus in the back of its quarter for updates. In fact, Brigade Enterprises is the one I'm talking about. The company has signed a deal to develop 10 acres of prime land in Mysuru through a joint development agreement. The project has a gross development value of approximately 225 crore rupees and a total development potential of 0.37 million square feet. The development will feature premium plots spanning over 8 acres and premium apartments spread over 2 acres. So that's the update coming in from Brigade Enterprises on the back of a new JDA that they've signed for a residential project in Mysore. Approximate GDV is 225 crores, looking positive for the company. And on the back of that, the stock is up almost 2.7% as we speak.
Alright, moving on then to a counter that's in focus, and that's Cyient that has launched a semiconductor arm. Let's go across to my colleague Anurag Shah, who caught up with Krishna Bodanapu, who's the Executive Vice Chairman and MD of Cyient, and Suman Narayanan, who's the CEO of Cyient Semiconductor. Let's go across and listen into what they had to say about it.
We believe that this market will grow to about a $2 trillion market, just the chips, and of course the electronics around the chips will go to about a $10-12 trillion market in the next 5 to 7 years, and that's the opportunity that Cyient Semiconductor is trying to address. We will be able to provide custom chips for various applications, and these applications need custom chips because of power reasons, because of cost reasons, because of performance reasons, and that's why we're very excited that we're creating a separate subsidiary to address this very, very large opportunity.
Okay. So, the separate subsidiary, from India point of view, how much scope do you see, and means on which segments or which sectors your focus would be initially?
So, I mean, we see a huge opportunity in India. I think the semiconductor market locally is also growing. It's probably go to 300 billion in the next couple of years locally. Well, our sectors are focused on the power semiconductor space. Like Krishan talked about, the semiconductor space today is about 600 billion today, growing to 2 trillion. But the power semiconductor space is probably about 60 billion in the next couple of years. So the goal for us is to focus around power and power efficiencies and saving on that. If you look at that market, really the top areas for us is around industrial, and inside industrial really focused around the AI power for data centers and also the industrial automation. Both require a lot of power, a lot of wastage is happening in power, and to help improve the efficiency of these power chips, we'll focus on some custom silicon like Krishna talked about that will help improve the power efficiency of this.
Okay. So, how much capital you will be requiring for this new subsidiary, and how you will be going for some fundraising also, and can we see going ahead the listing of new subsidiary also?
The Cyient board in our previous board meeting has committed to up to $100 million or up to about 900 crores of capital infusion as and when the business will require it. We're still working out the business case and the plans on when we'll require it. The second step is, of course, they've also given us the authorization to look at external capital, and we're working on what is the need and what are the sources of that capital. Now, listing is a little bit premature to talk about, but we'll look at what are the various avenues that we have for capital, because this is a business that has tremendous potential. Of course, will require the capital, but I would say maybe it's a bit premature to talk about listing.
Okay, that's the word coming in from the management at Cyient on their semiconductor foray. But on that note, we'll wrap it up on this edition of Market Fatafat. Osho as well as Ravinder, thank you so much for joining us. And viewers, thanks so much for tuning on to ET Now. Stay tuned to the channel. Market action continues.
If you like this video, then like, share and subscribe to ET Now.